Well, the Commissioner of Police in Akwa Ibom State, Andrew AMIENGHEME, joins us tonight to get more perspective on this sad development. And we also have David Hundeyin, who is an investigative reporter behind the story about Iniobong. Thank you, gentlemen, for joining us tonight in the studio. Okay, on the program, really. They're not here in the studio, but of course, let's have this conversation. David, I want to start with you, really. David, you released a long expose about this particular case just a few hours ago. Can you make us understand, walk us through what you've actually discovered as you got closer to uncovering what really happened to this young lady?
So I want to point out that this isn't so much about discovering what happened to her, because what happened to her is already in the public domain. It's already public knowledge what happened to Iniobong Umoren. What the story was about was to establish two things. First, that the primary suspect, that's Ezekiel Frank Uduak Akpan, who is being treated by the Akwa Ibom State Police Command as the sole suspect, is not in fact the sole suspect, that he has help, that he was working with people, and that the Akwa Ibom State Police Command, for whatever reason, for reasons best known to themselves, are actively trying to conceal this fact. And that secondly, and perhaps almost as important, that the case that could be constructed for anything other than an individual conviction of Frank Akpan is being intentionally bungled by the Akwa Ibom State Police Command. And this can be proven by the fact that his hideout, his lair, where several people have been able to gain access to see the remains of his previous victims, their bones, shoes, uniforms, those sorts of things. People have been traipsing through that place freely for the past 3 or 4 days, effectively contaminating an active crime scene and rendering all the what would otherwise be very valuable evidence there inadmissible in court. And the Akwa Ibom State Police Command is aware of this, and they're letting it happen. So either this is incompetence or this is deliberate, that the case that could be built for anything other than simply convicting this 20-year-old guy as to take the fall for what is clearly a bigger issue than just him, is being intentionally bungled by the Akwa Ibom State Police Command. Now, some of the things that I pointed out specifically in the report were that, first of all, in the immediate aftermath of the period when he committed the murder, which was on April 29, 2021, one of the first people that he contacted. Now, I was able to get this information because I have an insider at a telecoms company who basically leaked this data to me. And by the way, all the data that I have, the Nigeria Police Force has access to the same data. So you'd have to ask them why, even though they have access to this same data, they haven't done anything with it. And they've been acting as if they don't know everything that I've said, because they had it even before I did. They are the police. They have this data. Now, what the data shows is that in the immediate aftermath of the period when this Frank Akpan fellow committed this murder, one of the first people that he contacted on the phone within 24 hours was a fellow called Kufri Efyong. And I was able to validate this by pulling the phone number, which I got from the call records through Truecaller. 2 different numbers were used to have this communication with Kufri Efyong, and both showed up as belonging to this Kufri Efyong guy. I dug into this guy's past. This guy is a civil servant. He's a senior forest officer at the Ministry of Niger Delta Affairs. And the call records were able to place him at a direct street address, which was at S9G unit at Ewet Housing Estate in Uyo, which is the site of Davok Suites, which is a very well-known hotel in Uyo. Hotel which also, by the way, happens to be owned by Ekaite Akpabio, who is Godswill Akpabio's wife. And Godswill Akpabio is the Minister of Niger Delta Affairs. Now, this fellow contacted this Kufri Efyong guy. Bear in mind, he has just killed a young job seeker. He has just brutally raped and murdered a young job seeker. He goes and contacts this guy for whatever reason. I don't have access to the actual call.
I don't want to cut you midstream, David, but I would like us to make it easier to understand the story. So let's take a little bit of it with the Commissioner of Police in Akwa Ibom. Commissioner, please help us understand. That's an allegation from somebody who has done a little bit of investigation of this on this matter. How true is it that the police seem to have allowed the contamination of an incident, a crime incident, place like that? What happened? Can you help us understand what happened?
I will say good evening, viewers. I hope you are hearing me. Are you hearing me? You are hearing me?
Very clear. Please go ahead.
Yes. It's most unfortunate that meanings and different stories are being read into what happened. We got the information in the morning of 30th that they were looking for Iniobong, Umoren. And we did our best. We traced till somebody from, a gentleman from the social media came up and assisted with pictures and whatever, and we're able to get at the root cause and the father of Akpan. At the end of the day, Akpan ran out of Uyo, was said to have gone far into, as far as even Calabar, before he managed to convince him to come back because he kept denying that he knew nothing. At the end of interrogation and questioning, he confessed to what he did, and policemen went straight to the scene of crime and were able to exhume the body. Akpan and his father, who got to know of this thing later, are still being interrogated as we speak. There is no reason why anybody or any police officer will cover murder.
All right. You know, Mr. Commissioner, there's so much for us to look at. Looking at, you know, some of the accusations that have been laid against the police, especially looking at others that were involved. But we'll come back to you. Just hold your thoughts. But now let's head for this quick break. When we return, Newslight continues, of course, with the Commissioner as well as David Hundeyin.
So we still have the Commissioner of Police in Akwa Ibom State, AMIENGHEME, with us, and David Hundeyin. But let's go back to the Honorable the Commissioner of Police. Please help us understand, in terms of contamination of the scene of incident, help us understand what happened. You're telling us a story.
Yes, I was trying to explain. This case started as a case of suspected kidnap. And it was after the arrest of Frank Akpan and his confession that we were able to know that that's gone beyond kidnap to murder. Men of anti-kidnapping took him out. After questioning and interrogation, he confirmed that he killed the lady and went to show them the scene. And immediately we called the homicide department to come in, and homicide department came in. They were able to exhume the body, and they deposited it in at the mortuary. Immediately, the case changed from kidnapping to murder. We are open to every available information that we can get. We want to appreciate members of the ICT who have been assisting and the social media, but they are blowing it too far. Whatever information they have, they should let us have it. Investigation is ongoing, it's not yet concluded, though the autopsy report is already out. We are open to all information that is credible. The police has never and will never in any way condone and cover any person for murder. I am a father. She's not older than any of my daughters, and I cannot condone such a thing for anybody who start to infer.
Well, Mr. Commissioner, permit me to come in here real quick, but you're not answering the question. The question was, David Hundeyin, who did an investigative piece, says the scene of the crime has been desecrated because everyone has been going in there, thereby destroying evidence. What are you doing to, keep that scene sacred? One. And two, even in that investigative piece, he actually said that this goes beyond Mr. Frank Akpan, that a lot of, prominent Nigerians have been fingered. Can you tell us, beyond Akpan, how many other arrests have been made in connection to the death of this young lady?
As at the moment, Frank Akpan is in detention, and the father, who got to know even before he ran away and never told the police. I can confirm that to you. The scene of crime was protected But the youths, the rampaging youths of that community, out of anger of what they saw Frank do, what he did, they went and ransacked the place. That is exactly what happened. They went in their large numbers to ransack the place, and it's most unfortunate. But already the detective have swept through that place before that happened.
Commissioner, okay, you said that the youths ransack. Does it mean they overpowered the police and the policemen could not keep them at bay? And having said that, if other bodies are found in that place with boots and shoes and clothes of other youth coppers that seem to have been buried in shallow graves in that same location, does it mean that this young man has done more than one particular murder of a girl called Iniobong Umoren? Is that the case?
No, that's not the case. That is not correct. That but other bodies have been found. No other bodies have been found, and no other bodies have been found in that place. Not at all. They saw shoes.
All right, you know what, Mr. Commissioner, we'll come back to you. David Hundeyin, he has been listening to the commissioner really react to all that he is alleging. David, you've heard him. He says a lot of things that you've said is not true, and your piece might have some information not absolutely correct. Can you react to it?
I mean, you could almost see his nose growing while he was talking, because when someone is lying through their teeth, you can see the physical effect that it has on them. He said,
David, you don't have to insult. You don't have to insult. You don't have to insult me in any form here.
Bones were discovered on site, right? How did those videos get to social media? Did people make those things up? There is evidence.
Bones were not found anywhere.
Live on national TV to deny that there is evidence. Why is a police officer on national TV denying that there is evidence of a crime that has taken place? That is evidence of several crimes that have taken place. Did the rampaging youths make up these things? Did they tell lies about these things?
Where are the bones? Where are the bones? There are no bones there. It's an uncompleted building. There are no bones there. They saw some slippers and some some one or two shoes. Does that mean that those are bones? Bones were never found there.
And I guess
if you have information to that,
they just got there.
If you have information,
you are a police officer.
People were living in that
they saw some shoes.
Okay, Commissioner, Mr. AMIENGHEME, let's try and understand what happened. You're stating that as far as the police are concerned, there are no bones, there are no bodies, but the boots and the outfits that were found, they're all over social media. Were they created by somebody else's imagination, or were they found there when the police went to that site? Did you find anything untowards there, apart from the shallow grave of Miss Umoren?
It was only the shallow grave, and all those shoes and whatever. It's a family compound. People have been living there. You don't expect that they will not find one or two things in the place. But I challenge David to show us even one single bone that was seen there. Even I watched on BBC when somebody was showing the whole scene and recording it. Nothing like any bone anywhere.
Mr. Commissioner, thank you for joining us. And of course, David, with 30 seconds before we wrap up, are you worried that justice might not be served in this case? Or are you confident, David Hundeyin, that this lady who's lost her life at her prime will get justice at the end of the day? In 30 seconds as we wrap up.
Well, clearly, based on the appearance of the police officer that we have seen here, the Akwa Ibom Police Command has taken a side. And that side is not the side of justice. They have decided to tell lies. And they have decided that that is the hill to die on. I noticed he mentioned nothing about SP Samuel Ezeogo, who, as I mentioned in my article, has been having telephone contact with the main suspect before the suspect was arrested, the day after the suspect committed the murder. How did that happen? Okay. He has offered no explanation.
David, because we have to close. Yes, well, David, because we have to close, we have to wrap it up. We've got to give a chance to the Commissioner of Police as well to have a final word. So in terms of the person that he fingered as well, who's a police officer, what do you say about that? Was there a police officer that was in contact with Mr. Akpan?
Yes, as at the time they got Frank Akpan, they had to lure him back. That was when he made those calls, and they lure him back with his cousin to come back so that he can come and explain what happened. That was far before even he started confessing. So the officer he's calling is one of those who convinced Frank Akpan to come back. And he's now mentioning as if the officer was colluded or conspired with him. Not at all.
Tonight, of course, we continue to keep an eye out for this story to ensure that justice is served for Lady Iniobong.